Hey guys, Aaron Schober from Sword Carolina, and here is a video on how to simulate the bind and the Fuhlen that you get from it in your solo training. Now, first off, nothing replaces actually training with a partner and actually crossing swords with someone, but many times we don't have that luxury of doing that anytime we want to, right? So as far as like in your solo training, how do you get some bind practice? Because when you look at the German art, many of the techniques happen in the bind. You almost assume that your first attack is going to be blocked or countered in some way, and then we start training like the response to it. Now I can just train techniques in the air. So for instance, if I'm just going to do a really simple Oberhau, name into another Oberhau or a Sphärkau combination, I could just practice that in the air, but I'm not getting any kind of feedback on the sword. I'm just swinging in the air. And unless I'm training feints, I'm not getting the feeling that I would normally get in the sword. I could work with just a pel, like just one pel, but now the angles are going to be wrong. If I'm just cutting directly to the pel, I'm not getting the actual angles that I'm going to be experiencing with the sword. So what I have set up here is just really simple. I have two pels, or a pel and a punching bag put together. One of them symbolizing the target and the other symbolizing the target's sword, assuming they've blocked my attack. So you could probably set this up a number of different ways. Hopefully this will give you some ideas if you have a couple of actual items like this that you could put together. If not, hopefully it'll give you ideas that you can find something that you do have access to, that you can build your own kind of setup like this. So in this case, I'm gonna do an Oberhau that's blocked strongly by my opponent. I'm going to do an Abnehmen and come around with a Sphärkau on the other side. So in this case, I am attacking, the red punching bag is my target. So the first cut I'm doing, the first Oberhau, is actually toward this target. This is symbolizing his sword as he is blocked it strongly. So if I'm trying to do an Oberhau that would come across and hit here, it's going to hit the target instead. Now I can feel that I am in a weak bind here. I'm simulating the strong bind from my opponent, and so now I'm getting some feedback right away. I can feel that pressure there, and I can come around with my Sphärkau. This sets up the angles a little bit better. Obviously, this is assuming that the opponent is not moving. That would throw in another level of complexity where you really need a partner for that probably. But this is pretty close. I'm getting here. I'm getting that feedback. I'm attacking the target. I'm feeling that it's blocked. I feel the strong pressure over there coming around. I can also use this to make sure I'm closing off my line of attack, or assuming my opponent's line of attack, because if this is the sword, I want to make sure that I am protected from that sword. So I'm able to simulate a strong bind in that case. I could also use this to simulate a weak bind as well. So if I am, let's say I can adjust these slightly so they still fit on camera. I can attack, once again, toward the target, but in this case, I'm going to set it up in such a way that I'm going to be just slightly short of it. So here, with this not being here, I would actually hit the target, but because I'm lined up behind it, it is blocking my attack, but I can feel now the pressure is different. I am bound with more of the strong part of my sword. I feel that I still have an opportunity to attack to the same opening, so now I can work on more Mutieren type moves where I'm cutting in here and I can wind and thrust right into the target. So my initial attack is still blocked, but I'm in a position here where I can come in with a second attack. So I could just come in with a thrust right from there, continuing with the Sphärkau example I gave earlier. I could come in with an Oberhau that's blocked and come around with a Sphärkau on the same opening. So once again, this is training some basic concepts where if my opponent is strong in the bind and I am weak in the bind, I would rather come around to the other side. Whereas if I am strong in the bind, I would rather stay in this bind or stay on this same side at least and continue to attack that same opening. We can do some of the things, we can do thrusting. I also have thrusting rings that we hang from the ceiling. That would be something else that I could do, set up behind this, have thrusting rings set up in the air where I'm having to now thrust with some opposition, practice some Absätzen I want to get you guys thinking along those lines where it's not just going through the motions. It's not just the motion of the sword that we're trying to emulate, where just air cutting is fine, but it's not giving us the Fuhlen, which is really probably the most important thing. When I try to drill in that response, that hard pressure, soft pressure, feeling the difference and being able to recognize it immediately, just comes through practice. Better with a partner, but now you can at least practice it solo as well. So appreciate you guys and hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you.